because it's like, not only, well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of the same concept of like, if this baby, whether you're a baby, people want to talk about narcissists being manipulative, and I'm not saying they're not, but where is that line of accountability? So at what point does a baby become an adult and it become manipulative? Because when a baby cries and gets what it wants, is that not a form of manipulation? I think it is. That's why I hate babies so much. I don't trust them. No, I'm just kidding. But really though, why is that okay? Why do we not see that as a narcissist using a manipulation tactic to get what they want? Well, I don't know, because it's different for everybody. But one of the ways I guess to hold that baby accountable, it's so funny to say it like that. That's so stupid. If a narcissist baby happens to be crying, and you kind of run through, and like maybe even you don't acknowledge it, but to yourself you kind of look at all the different possibilities, because if that baby's crying for a legitimate thing, if it's hungry or if it needs to be changed, you do want, for security, like so that baby has a very healthy, well established sense of security and safety, based on the being provided for by the people, the people that are supposed to be, like the mom and the dad. You want that baby to have that safety and security that comes from knowing that if there is a basic need that has to be met, I have loving parents that will do that for me until I'm capable of doing it on my own. However, if there's nothing wrong that you can see, if you know that based on, the eating, like your routine as far as feeding, the diaper, his diaper, all those things, and you can kind of rule out most stuff, then there's a good chance that maybe the baby's crying to be held, or maybe crying, whatever. So that baby at the same time, it needs to have a very healthy concept of, or healthy sense of security and stability and safety. It also needs to be shown how to take care of itself, and that would be on the emotional level. So what that means is, when you are crying, if you're sad and you need to stop crying, or you need to stop being sad, do you look externally for a person to help you stop crying, or do you look internally? And that's what the self-soothing is. It's a way to form that, belief and start practicing, that skill or that talent, whatever you're going to look at it, like early on. I'm the only one that can that can stop my tears from falling. Therefore, it probably will also, in a way it says too, if I don't look to you to stop me from crying, then you don't have the power to make me cry. It's a self reliance. It is knowing that I'm enough, and not only am I enough, I'm more than enough. So not only am I not going to look all over the world, I'm not going to constantly seek out in every face that I see the things that I need on the emotional level. So I'm looking everywhere for love. I'm looking everywhere for security, safety, all these things. Not only am I not doing that, but when I do have those things, it's not, the lines aren't blurred between what I need and I want from that person and what I expect from them. I don't need anything from them, because I know that I'm the only one that can, I don't need another person to heal me or fix me or change me or save me, because I'm the only one that can. And it's such a fascinating paradigm to me, because it's like, not only is that true, and not only is that one of the biggest things like ever, like on the intellectual level, but on top of that, all the wounds and issues and damage that is done based on, as a result of the wounds that childhood trauma has inflicted on us, that we carry around with us, those behaviors, those defense mechanisms, those coping skills that we've developed over time in response to the trauma that we, that we've endured, it always causes more. It's just how it works. Negativity breeds more negativity. If you were abandoned, and the trauma that came from being abandoned is not addressed and healed properly, you're going to be absolutely terrified for the rest of your life of being abandoned. And what are you going to do to keep from being abandoned? not good things. Not good, I mean, and they don't even have to be bad things. You're not going to I'm going to kill this person so they can never leave me. No, maybe it's you learn how to be charming. Maybe you have a superficial charm to you that really draws people in. And, it's things like that none of them are healthy. None of them work. Because at the end of the day, the fact still remains that you are terrified that that person will leave. You do everything in your power to get them to stay. And because it's not authentic, because you're not doing it for the right reasons, they can feel that. And usually if the narrative in your head is the belief that they will in fact leave, even if they don't, we need that truth to be, that truth has to be, it has to live, it has to be always present. We have to have a belief in our mind match the reality that we're living in. So if I'm afraid that you're going to leave, but I know you're going to, what am I going to do? Well, at first, I'm going to try to get you to stay. And then when that fear gets so overwhelming that I know it's inevitable, I'm going to push you away and make you leave. Therefore, I'm going to be more wounded. That's just trauma piled on top of trauma, and that's where the CPTSD comes from. It's the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which comes from it's not just a car wreck or something that is absolutely in every way traumatizing and does need to be, everyone will have to heal from stuff like that, or everyone needs to heal from PTSD, and when it occurs in a sense of a one-time catastrophic traumatic experience. But the complex trauma that comes from these things, this abandonment or all the, take your pick as far as the wounds that are inflicted upon us, they just keep happening over and over and over and over and over. While simultaneously these skills that we've acquired, to combat that or in response to that, you're going to become more and more, you get better and better at charming people. So you're growing in that sense. You're really fine tuning these things that you do. These ways of getting what you want. So the more you get it, the scarier you are, and the scarier you are, the worse things get. Therefore, the worse the trauma that's piled on top of all the original trauma, and it's a vicious, vicious, vicious cycle. And the only way to stop it is to understand, first of all, where it's coming from. There's trauma here. You don't know how to recognize it unless you know what it looks like. You're gonna see it. It's one of those things where you see it everywhere, and you always have. You just didn't know what you were looking at. We're so humans are so we're so programmed, and we're just, it's so instinctive to us to just look at the surface level of the issue. We just always look at the drugs or the gambling or the whatever it is, or the being unfaithful, all these things. Those are just a symptom of a much deeper issue. And all of that comes from the, basically the belief it's so deeply rooted in us because it's been with us almost as long as we've been here, as long as we've been alive. We've had the false belief, or, the belief, the false belief that we are not enough. We alone are not enough. And not only is that absolutely not true, it's actually it is the opposite of the truth. The fact is, not only are we not enough, we are all that we need. And to have the freedom that comes from, the freedom in a relationship, it's again, one of the most beautiful things that you can imagine is the beauty that comes from being with someone, not because you need them, but because you want them. And to know that there's no expectations that you place on them that are going to, you're not putting unrealistic or unattainable goals on a person, expectations on a person that they will never be able to achieve. And because that hurts both parties involved. So picking yourself up and healing yourself. And I think the inner child, to me, inner child work is the best way. Because, it's still, even if any type of therapy, anything like that, you're still at the very most fundamental level, you are still relying on external forces or people, more specifically, oftentimes, you're relying on people to solve the issue. And when you are, when you do work like if you do inner child work, that's through and through from the beginning to the end. Everything you do is sending the message to you that you are all you need. And I don't care what anybody says. That's not what self-love is. This self-love, this self, all these things. That's not what they practice. I don't think. Even self-discovery, there's nothing wrong with learning who you are or becoming who you are. All that stuff, that's all great. But there is a child version of you in there that's wounded. And, first of all, if we don't acknowledge that, well, the sad thing about that is, even if we're doing self-help book, like self-help stuff, and we're trying to, quote unquote, like be a better person or all those things, we're like purging all these, shadow aspects of ourselves, but we're not acknowledging that it's not a dark, evil part of us. It's the child in us that literally helped us survive when we couldn't. It's the child in us that, just like I said, you would never look at my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, as you would never believe it. She was not upset about the fact that I was being abused. She was upset about the fact that she didn't do anything about it. And I don't know about you, but you know what that tells me? It makes me think that maybe these kids are stronger than us. And when I say think, I don't mean think. I mean, I fucking know they are. They are smarter than us. They are stronger than us. They are braver than us. Because I got to tell you, she wouldn't be upset about that if she wouldn't have on some level knew that she could do it. Because, if I saw a car, like if I witnessed a wreck and there was a Greyhound bus, which, by the way, I have not seen like a single Greyhound bus in like so many years. I wonder if that's still a thing. I think it is. I never see them though. Therefore, do they exist? If a Greyhound bus shits in the woods, does it? No, I'm just kidding. So, but yeah, so the fact is, what was I saying?